Ja, wenn du merkst, dass du knackst zu sehr bei irgendjemandem, dann gibt es dann
was redet vorher keiner? Wenn Francis redet, ich rede, und wir das nehmen erst danach.
dann ist das wieder eins und das ist dann das Mikrofon, was
Das lässt du dann, damit ich es weitergeht, ich habe Zeit.
Es gibt eine Reihenfolge.
Ja, du musst dir das nicht erzählen, doch
So, everybody is ready. Yes. Hello and very warm welcome. Since we've gathered a lot of guests from abroad, this whole evening will be in English. I guess this is wonderful for anybody. My name is Francis Uckermann. I run this design Zentrum Hamburg. That is this beautiful place here. And we are an initiative for all topics and activities around design in Hamburg, and belong to Hamburg Kreativgesellschaft, that is a municipal institution for the promotion of the creative industries in Hamburg. The fashion world is facing a huge upheaval. In order to curb climate heating, the industry must cut its emission by half and establish material-neutral recycling systems. In their search for innovative and sustainable solutions, a new generation of fashion designers is developing numerous ecologically sensible and aesthetically convincing ideas with which the transformation of the industry can succeed. The Design Zentrum Hamburg is presenting the Future Fashion Project as part of Chinatime Hamburg 22 until December 5th. This multimedia exhibition on the topic of sustainable and digital path for the fashion of the future. Part of the project are the fashion collections of Chinese designers, the winners of the Rise Up Sustainable Design Challenge, a competition initiated by the Rise Sustainable Fashion Platform from Shanghai. That's these physical exhibits and the film that is playing back there. Also in the exhibition are works by students from HAW Hamburg on the subject of recycling and upcycling. It's called Modeverwertungsverfahren. That's not translatable in English. which was created in collaboration with Stadtreinigung Hamburg. And it is to be seen there, set up in the adjoining room. And in the third focal point, we are looking at virtual fashion. At the Future Fashion Nights, that is tonight and tomorrow, we explore the question of whether fashion made by pixels and bytes is the future. A very warm welcome, dear speakers of this evening. We are very much looking forward to your contributions. Looking to you. I would also like to invite you, the audience, to download the app to bring the pictures hanging on the wall there to life. These are works of the speakers. But there will be more to be seen. This part of the program was curated and organized by Next Reality Hamburg. This non-profit association is dedicated to the discourse on the impact of immersive media and technologies. Fashion and technology combine many parameters that are important for the association, its community and partners, design, social relevance, and economic viability. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to everyone involved, but especially to Sarah Wienberg-Schwarz from Next Reality, without whose passionate commitment this evening would not have happened. This is Sarah. Now I would like to turn the floor over to Daniela Dinnes, who will lead you through the evening and introduce the speakers. So please, dear Daniela, I hand over to you.
Thank you so much, friends. Thanks for this lovely words. Hello, welcome. My name is Daniela Judith, and I'll be your host for tonight. And it's my pleasure to welcome you again on behalf of Next Reality and the Design Zentrum Hamburg. And this lovely exhibition here, I don't know if you've arrived early and had the chance to have a look around. Maybe you can do this later in the evening, or maybe you even want to try our nice digital wardrobe over there. If you're confused by the term digital wardrobe, don't you worry, we got you. The whole evening is going to be about digital fashion. We'll explain a lot, we'll talk about it a lot. These ladies are very passionate about it, and we'll have a nice discussion about it. That's what you can expect. They'll introduce themselves for a few minutes, and after that, we'll have a nice panel discussion, and after that, of course, you'll get the opportunity to ask questions as well. And after that, we'll have time for drinks, networking, and have good conversations about it. But you're not here to hear me talk, so let me introduce you to our panel. First, let me start introducing Kim Berndt, co-founder and creative director of Studio.fbx.
Oh, okay.
You have the power now.
So hi everyone. As you heard, my name is Kim. I'm one of the two founders of Studio.fbx. I'm here today with my lovely co-founder Jessica. And Studio.fbx is actually a digital fashion only studio. So all we do is digital fashion. It's the same as a physical fashion agency, but we are doing everything with software. So we are working with quite a few software programs where we sew the clothes together and then modify them with textures, animations, and bring them to life in the video you can see here. Yeah, that's what we do. We also do virtual reality installations, as you also can check out in the beautiful exhibition they put together here. And I'm really thrilled to talk about digital fashion today with you all guys. And also you can check out this hat in the exhibition right there. So yeah, I'm totally happy to be here and talking to you today.
Thank you so much. We're excited to have you. So next on our panel, Judith Brachem. She's an art historian.
Okay, can I just skip your video?
Of course you can.
Does this work?
It should.
No.
Will.
Oh, now it works. Okay. Hi, I'm Judith. I'm an art historian specializing in fashion, dress, and textiles. And for the past 2 years, I have been researching digital fashion. And last year, I curated with Lukas Stöbe the exhibition Virtuelles Beiwerk, which was the first exhibition in Germany focusing on digital fashion. And yeah, here you can see a walk through our exhibition. And yeah, I'm sorry, the video doesn't show up. No. Yeah. You can see a video. Our exhibition was accompanied by an augmented reality app, so that every work that was shown was also augmented with a mobile phone. And yeah, that is the second part of my work, how I focus on digital fashion. I not only research it from a fashion studies / art historical perspective, but I also work for augmented reality, virtual reality, and digital projects in general. I'm so sorry, I just don't know how to get to the next. This was a project that we showed in Berlin this fashion week that I worked on with Studio.fbx. It is an Instagram filter that we produced together for the Open Studio exhibition that you can see here. Here you can see the t-shirt in augmented reality. Yeah, another part of my work is creating virtual worlds. This was a project that launched last week for AMD, Academy Fashion and Design, for the Global Fashion Conference. I worked on with the team. It is a virtual showroom for not especially digital fashion, but for sustainable fashion project, digital fashion apps, and very interesting projects. You can still visit it. And another part of my work, which I work on at the moment, is virtual try-on, and I'm trying to find ways how virtual try-on can be more inclusive, because at the moment the technology behind body tracking only tracks the height of a person and only of a standing person, and that's like implemented in the mobile phones. It's only the height, and it just assumes a certain width and just stretches the textile, but it doesn't resize it. So plus size is not yet really possible for digital fashion, as well as perhaps someone who can stand up, like you can't try digital fashion on in a wheelchair. And I'm just like trying around building different prototypes for virtual try-on to make it a little more inclusive. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, it took a little bit longer because I couldn't get the videos to play. I hope that's okay.
It's perfectly fine. It's exciting to see that, and I'm looking forward to talking about inclusion and all that. Yes, next on our list is Yifan, a digital fashion artist.
Hello everyone, I'm Yifan. I'm originally from China, and happy to be here in this event and in this beautiful city and exhibition. I'm based in Berlin, so I traveled here for the second time. And this is my slides. So I'm actually not from fashion background. Actually, as many of the digital fashion people, I started my bachelor in product design, and then I went to a master in building for a course called Media Spaces. It's to deal with like lighting projection in a room or like in a space. And then I quite randomly found digital fashion, and I've been doing that. So I realized this. I realized that I'm really bad with making something with my hands in my product design experience. So I'm like, I like fashion, I like the idea of seeing different styles, it's very creative, but I don't want to sew, I don't want to, work with fabrics in a studio, so I never like dare to actually study fashion. But then I found this tool called Close 3D, and it's like, wow, you can do your designs just on your computer. It's like perfect for me. So I started to have this experiment. Like I gave myself this assignment. I'm just gonna do one outfit a day with the theme of Czech pattern. So I did this in my first month, like just a small collection with all kinds of outfit with Czech pattern. And then I started to get interest. I posted this, and then I started to get interest from people, like maybe small brands want to visualize their ideas, before they produce their items. So they came to me and like, can you do something like this for them? And it was shortly before the pandemic. So during the pandemic, more brands were interested in digital fashion because they couldn't do photo shoot offline. And okay, I skipped something. So I was into making clothes in Close 3D without realizing the using scenarios. So I was playing with it for fun, more as digital art to begin with. I was fascinated by the idea that you can do something without the physical limitations. So I was kind of obsessed with the mermaid idea for a while because it can be floating, it can be in the water. I think Studio.fbx also did something like underwater. And I was just obsessed with the idea of floating avatar and non-human creature, maybe. And I did a lot of mermaid. And then also floating in outer space, of course, for Helsinki Fashion Week, which I also got to meet many other amazing digital fashion artists, including Kim. And this was also during Helsinki Fashion Week. I was collaborating with a Japanese fashion brand to digitize their outfit to as a campaign, I guess. And also worked with Berlin, since I've been based in Berlin, so I worked also with Berlin local brands, Cool, for their online campaign. And this is a Chinese/Australian brand, J.Bill, and I did some styling for their outfit to be able to launch on DressX, which is this AR mirror here. So they did a lot of like digitalization of physical fashion brands, and I did this for together with another Japanese girl, designer Aya, and we did together for JPO the whole digitalization of the whole collection. And this was another online campaign I did for indie designer Anyango Mpinga. So these are digital clothes photoshopped onto real models as a digital campaign before the whole line was actually produced. So I got like photos of these models. It was also during the pandemic, so they were like modeling at home with their underwears, and then they send me these pictures, and then I do the clothes according to the designer's instruction, and then I put the clothes onto the models and add all the fake shadows to make them look like they're actually wearing it. So this was a first whole big campaign that I did as digital fashion for physical brands. And this is a whole part of the whole lineup. It was like a big collection that's very vibrant in color and like their design. And this is for another indie brand who also found me on Instagram, and so this is another usage of digital fashion. I would say you provide the digital patterns, so the indie designer can actually send this pattern to the factory and produce the clothes. So it's like a virtual sampling with all this. And it's also happening a lot in big brands, but usually it's happening in-house and you're not allowed to leak those photos. So I'm like shooting this one because this is the indie designer, he's okay with it. So, this is the final product photo shoot. This jacket with the bat wings, yeah, was the thing we did together. And this is another usage of digital fashion for me is to do digital wearables for people. So there are ways of using AR filter like this one. So I was trying on my own eyewear design using an AR filter, and you can also, like I said, Photoshop your digital fashion onto a photo that doesn't exist in real life. So that's like photo try-on. That's like, we call it the Web 2 approach to wear digital fashion. And of course there's Web 3, the hot word. I did this design commissioned by Extra Couture for Metaverse Fashion Week this year, March, for the platform called the Zentrum, because they want to host, I think, and maybe everyone was involved. Sorry, didn't hear that. So they host like Fashion Week, but in Metaverse, and so this outfit was, how to say, converse to like a cartoon-ish proportion for the avatars in the game to, well, it's not really a game, on the platform to wear the same design. So I was on that platform wearing my own design, standing next to the poster of that design. So this is apparently the Web 3 way of wearing digital fashion. And my most recent work is this AR outfit of capybara. I don't know if you know this Japanese, like they're looking rodent. Like many of my friends are just obsessed with it, so I designed like a huge capybara on her back as a digital outfit that you can wear through the app called 010. So it's kind of like this one, like you try on something in the screen, on the screen. Yeah. What I am showing here is something I've been thinking about lately. Like, can we talk about digital fashion without necessarily relating to physical fashion? Because I kind of want to push, personally, push digital fashion as a media of its own, that it tells a story, you know, it has the avatar, it has the environment, and it has this irony of trying to look real, but it's actually virtual. So I zoom out of the scene to make you see that the whole bar has an edge, like it's not a full world, it's just this small island in the 3D world that she looks like she's looking for someone, she's waiting for someone, but that person will never arrive because she's a 3D model that she didn't realize. So yeah, I was kind of playing with the ideas of that. So that's it. Sorry, it's a bit long.
No, it's okay. Already storytelling involved, so I'm hooked already. So now, last but not least, Stephy Fung, 3D digital fashion artist.
Hi guys, I'm Stephy. I'm a digital fashion artist. I do many things. I wouldn't say just artist, but also content creator. I also try to be an educator in the space to show what is possible. So I'm gonna ask a question, guys. Okay, hands up if you guys think these outfits are digital.
The ones before, I guess.
None. sorry. These ones. Okay, gold star. Yes, they are. But saying that, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize I pressed the button. This is what I usually do. I usually make NFT artworks, actually. So a lot of my digital fashion are usually based on traditional Chinese clothing. My heritage is I'm British Chinese, so a lot of my work is kind of going back to my roots, I would say, because when I was growing up I'm based in London. I would say my childhood was mostly Eurocentric. Everything I learned was very Eurocentric. So only as an adult I started to really appreciate my Chinese heritage, and that really spoke to me via digital fashion. And so I usually would combine traditional Chinese elements with modern techniques, and it's just turned out to be something like this. I've had the pleasure of working with clients with digital fashion, and funnily enough, they are not fashion brands. So this one here, I worked with High Society. They reached out to me saying, oh, Glenn Fittich wants to work with you for digital fashion. And I thought, Glenn Fittich? Are you sure? Because if you don't know who they are a Scottish whiskey brand. And I thought, what do they want with digital fashion? This does not make sense. But let's do it, yes, it sounds interesting. And what I didn't know about the brand is that they give back to the art community every year. I had no clue, I thought they just sold alcohol, that was it. But they give back to the art community every year. This year, it was 2021, they worked with me, and they wanted me to be in charge of bringing, I suppose, the art community forward. And so they asked me to create 3 outfits based off 3 other artists that they collaborated with. So it was a collaboration and another collaboration. I thought this is great. And so we created 3 outfits. I interpreted the other artists' packaging actually from Glenn Fittich, and then we sold them as NFTs. And after we sold them as NFTs, we donated all of them to art charities. So I feel like this project, it was a lovely project because they gave me freedom to do what I wanted to do, and then in the end we just gave it back to the art community. So it was really wholesome project. Yes, this is me wearing it. I love wearing digital fashion, and as Yifan was saying, this technique is mostly actually done by just photoshopping something on. I wish it was really glamorous, but it's not. At the moment, it's not as glamorous as that screen over there, but yeah, this is good old Photoshop here. In my spare time, actually every week, I do Twitch streams. And the reason why I do that is because I learned a lot of my technical skills online, and so I like to share it back. And I've got my community that come every single Thursday, and I share my digital fashion process, and we learn from each other, because I don't only show them, but they teach me things as well. And this is what I spend my Thursday evenings doing. If you guys are free, come and say hi. And of course, I did say I do content creation. I'm quite passionate about sharing my process. I'm quite passionate about sharing and talking about digital fashion on every single social media platform, which is why you will see me with my phone like all the time. I'm like filming, I'm recording, I'm documenting, so that's what I also do. And the last thing I want to talk about, probably the biggest milestone in my career, especially in digital fashion, is that I had the pleasure of working with Dell. And they came with me for a brief saying, we want you to bring your digital fashion ideas to life. And I thought, okay, yeah. That's nice, because usually big brands would usually say, oh, can you do this? We want X, Y, Z, and you usually have to fulfill it. But they came to me as an artist and trusted in my vision. I created something like this. The campaign was called Expand Your Universe, and in my head it was like, okay, my universe is digital fashion. I can just imagine like this avatar just walking through a portal, and that is like the digital fashion realm. So it's very like Ready Player One vibe or atmosphere here. And then from that animation, they made a whole campaign and adverts about my animation, which for me, that was just like wow, because they trusted my vision, and of course their laptop here. But they had to show that off, and yeah, I just found it fascinating that both brands that I worked with are not fashion-based, but they have an interest in digital fashion. So you know, the industry now is very new, but I'm curious to see what other brands are going to come into this space and use digital fashion.
Thank you so much. Now, you know what you got yourselves into tonight, and I have tons of questions. My first question, I think you answered it already a bit. What got you hooked on digital fashion at first? What was your passion about it? Why did you decide to go to this field? And did you start in real fashion at all? Or did you just start up with digital fashion? You answered that one, but care to say a few words about the starting point of it?
Yeah, what more to say? I've been interested in fashion design as doing things. I was really young, and I just discovered the 3D program, and I guess since I studied product design, so I wasn't afraid of doing something 3D. So, but it's like a totally different software, but it's also quite intuitive. Like you see what you do, basically. And Clo also comes with really legit render engine, so you see the final image of what you did quite easily. Then I just got addicted, since day one. Sounds like an ad, but it's not.
Well, makes perfect sense to me.
So my starting point with digital fashion was, so I come from a traditional fashion industry. I learned fashion design the traditional way with physical patterns. And me and my colleagues at the university, and we came straight from the sewing lab, and we're like, oh my god, now we have to sew in the 30th zipper into the patterns, and we were so tired of sewing together the samples. And then one of our professors came along with the software 3D, and we sat outside the university, and it was that's our solution to not waste anything. So we come from a bit from a sustainable point of view, so that we can actually design in a software and play around with different materials, with the pattern constructions, but not wasting any physical material waste. So that was kind of our starting point where the whole started with digital fashion, and also the fashion began with digital fashion. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think we'll talk about the sustainable aspect later. Cool.
It's a twofold answer actually. So in my research, it was 2 years ago, so I worked as a fashion journalist for some years, and when I entered the field of art history, I also focused on dress and textiles, and then I read about, or actually saw it on Instagram 2 years ago, that brands are producing digital-only fashion, and I was immediately fascinated because I thought about the opportunities and the possibilities to express your identity through digital fashion, where there are no limits regarding to physical constraints. But when I got into the field of digital fashion, I thought maybe that wasn't my first meeting with digital fashion, because I played video games growing up. So of course I always had an avatar, and I think every one of us who played The Sims had something to do with digital fashion, like dressing your Sims in the game, or playing Animal Crossing and having little outfits on while you're on your island with your little animals. So I think more people have been in contact with digital fashion than they would actually know, because maybe they didn't think of it as digital fashion.
Yeah, digital fashion for me, it was not really, I planned to be a digital fashion artist, no. My background's in graphic design. I studied it at university, and decided that I really didn't like static posters, and typography wasn't really my thing. And so I looked at animation actually. Motion design thrilled me because it moved. So any graphic design that moved, I was like, yes, this is my jam. And I think it's because I really like watching Disney, Pixar, Ghibli animation. So I think the storytelling aspect really spoke to me. And so I moved from graphic design to motion design to 3D. And then finally, during lockdown, I had all this extra time to myself, didn't know really what to do with myself. And I was really inspired by this lady called Cathy Tay. She is actually currently the founder, or co-founder of the Institute of Digital Fashion in London. And she has this collective called DigiGirl. And DigiGirl is a collective of 3D artists that are LGBTQ+, or women-led 3D artists. And so I joined it, of course, and we actually got commissioned by Selfridges, a luxury department store in London, to make a collection. And at that point, I didn't know digital fashion. I didn't actually know it existed, really. I was really there to make like 3D environments, camera animation, texturing. That was what I was there for. And so Cassie, she and 2 other digital fashion artists, they're working in Clo 3D, and I saw it and I thought, how did you make that out of nothing? This is fascinating. And so during lockdown, again, we go back to lockdown, fast forward in time, I had all this extra time and I decided to go into YouTube as I learned most of my technical skills from YouTube. I spent all that time doing digital fashion for fun at first, and then I realized it was the perfect medium for me to express my British Chinese identity. And then suddenly it became a full-time thing, and I'm doing it every single project, every single day.
Okay, so we have a lot of different approaches, but I think they have an aspect in common, and that's a real passion for that, what you were doing. It's a decision you made to commit to this subject. And what's interesting to me is, of course, the sustainability aspect of it. And I think we all agree that it's innovatable? So we need the fashion industry to change, because it can't go on like that. Fast fashion is a real problem. And what's your take on that? Where are the potentials there?
For me, I would say actually the try-on is one of the biggest potentials, because it will take some years that people will get to the idea of actually owning digital clothes. I think that will take another year, or maybe 5 or 10. But I think the virtual try-on is something that will decrease the return numbers of packages of clothes that you order and that are sent around the world. And I think that it doesn't only decreases the numbers of returns, but also is helping in made-to-order solutions, where you try the clothes on first, and they are only produced after you order the garments. And I think that that will definitely help, growing the sustainable fashion sector.
When you say it like that, it makes so much sense. It's like, why didn't we do it like that? Why?
Yeah, because virtual try-on is not where we want it yet. Yeah, there's some technical difficulties, especially when it comes to sizing. It is more about how do I look in this dress. That's something that is actually quite possible now to see if it's my style, if I like the color on me. But it's really, really difficult to get the sizes right in augmented reality.
And also, I think the augmented reality part is like the upgrade from the digital fashion creation. That's all what we are striving for, to use digital fashion as a kind of virtual experience. But when we are breaking it down to the fundamental principles of doing digital fashion, then digital fashion product or digital fashion creation can also be implemented into the physical fashion chain as for example, as a design tool to move really quickly into textures, to change the patterns really quickly, to communicate with your team or with your production, with your partners, and also for the sizing and for the fit that can also be entered at the very first step in the design process. So that is kind of also like a sustainable approach when going digital.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be a development as in art, where you buy a painting and the ownership is enough for you? Because I think a lot of people are still into fashion because they want to show off. I can afford this brand, I can afford this and that, and I can show off what I have. But with digital fashion, it's not at that point yet, because we don't have devices that show it all the time, right?
Yeah, there are some projects that are really cool integrated into some apps or some platforms like Zentrum, where you can virtually show off your items. But yeah, we also have this kind of augmented reality apps where you can also show what you got. But I think the point by wearing digital fashion assets is still at the beginning, because like we hear this like NFT thing and blockchain thing, and it is all very kind of basic right now, the projects we see, but it will be more like I don't know the English word, yeah, there will be projects where you can not just only show off your item, but really have some benefits when you buy that certain product, and maybe do something good for the planet. I know it sounds a bit weird right now, but it will be those projects where you can not just own the fashion item, but also can do something with it.
Yeah, or maybe even co-create, right?
Yeah.
You give knowledge to your community so they can have agency in their own clothing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of people in the Web3 space, they are, I would say, quite comfortable collecting digital assets and along with NFTs. So I would say a lot of people in Web3, the whole collecting idea comes really from gaming, collecting skins, collecting items. So especially people who come from a gaming background, it's not really a foreign thing. But you compare it to people, of course, who who are in Web 2, and they usually buy a product, they get it physically, and they want to flex it, right? So with fashion, you usually want to flex. You buy a new outfit, you want to flex it. And usually, would you usually do that? You would either wear it to an event like this, you would post it online, you want to show it off, right? So the question mark with digital fashion is, how am I going to flex it? What is the utility? The question people ask, what is the utility? And yes, we do have ways to actually use it. We do, but it's still work in progress. So I would say, a few ways you guys can flex it is, of course, in platforms like Zentrum or Sandbox. You can wear it there. That's mostly closely related to gaming. And then, of course, we've got DressX and 010, where you've got AR try-on, and that is another way you can post on social media. I think just kind of relating back to the other question about the sustainability factor, but if you look at the influencer industry, I think they were valued for about $15 billion in 2021 or 2022. I'm like, that's a lot of money. There's a lot of influencers out there. It's only going to grow. They are. Right? The creator economy is growing, right? And so I was thinking, if they got a way to try digital fashion and wear it as a filter, wouldn't that be better than companies sending them PR packages, try this on? You hear stories about influencers wearing outfits for a post, they wear it once, and then what do they do with it? They never wear it again. So, that is a good use case I can see digital fashion helping out with. And also, in terms of social media and the whole current trends, how things are driven by trends, it's quick. Things are happening so quickly, the trend changes and it changes again. I think digital fashion is also a way to help combat that, because digital fashion, you want to change a color, you want to change, a material, you just press a button on your computer and your mouse and you're like, boom, done. And you don't need to waste as much materials, energy, time. And I think in that sense, digital fashion has the potential.
Makes perfect sense. And do you think established brands, big brands, like Gucci, they already did something with digital fashion, but it was not that much of an impact. Or am I wrong there? What do you say? You're so much more into this than I am.
I don't think I've really heard of what Gucci has done.
The Gucci garden in Roblox. Yeah.
Tell me more.
There was the Gucci garden in Roblox. I think that depends on what you define as an impact, because of course, when you're in that, and you have to say bubble because it really is a bubble, for let's say more than half a year, you get the feeling like everyone is talking about digital fashion everywhere, and you have the feeling everyone has heard of that and this and that topic, and you really start to get the feeling, wow, I'm too late, or everyone's doing that already, and digital fashion is everywhere, but then you just...
I just give a great example of this. You know, Gucci did that thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That was my bubble.
Yeah. Then you just have to talk to some friends who are not working in digital fashion to like get back to the ground and just focus on the reality, and that is not everyone's doing it. And so I think that's where I don't know how to measure the impact, because of course many projects are shared via social media, or many brands like sell NFTs for a lot of money, but when you ask someone who's not from like the digital sphere or from a digital fashion background, they might have never heard of that brand actually, and so I think the impact is big when a brand like Gucci like enters the space, and it gets more visuality for people outside of the space. And I actually forgot what I wanted to end on. Yeah, but it depends on how you define impact.
Yeah, and I also think when looking into the physical fashion industry, these kind of projects are huge and make huge impacts, because business as usual does not work anymore. The fashion industry recognizes that the industry is really fucked up, so they need to change, but they don't know really how to change and what kind of changes they want to make. And digital fashion is not the solution, but it is one solution to solve like small parts in the chain that are really dirty. So and I think that is actually a huge impact that this large fashion industry recognizes a tool and a new technology and innovation to implement also into their chain, not just creating another digital fashion bubble which is going for itself. But there are some great collaborations yet where this makes a huge impact to combine these two fashion and technology expertises.
And if you could make a wish, what do you think we would need to get digital fashion more out there, not only in bubbles and certain platforms?
I feel like, from my experience, I feel like I kind of tend to separate digital fashion into those that are out there as digital art and those that are actually secretly happening in-house of those big companies. Because I knew another digital fashion artist based in Berlin now. Her handle is Polygon Dressing, and when I first knew her like several years ago, at the time I barely started, she was already working for Adidas for 4 years as a digital fashion in-house designer. So I think that actually it has been going on, and if more and more fashion houses recognize this as if they open their mind to this as a tool in-house, it actually can eventually replace the physical sampling stage, so they don't need to always send the 2D technical drawing to someone, and then they found like a girl of this special measurement, and then they wrap her in like the samples and like pins and everything. Like that whole thing can be replaced by digital tools. I think digital tools are already there, but many companies, they just like haven't changed the mindset yet, so that they don't trust this step fully to replace the physical sampling, the step. So as what I was experiencing, some houses now, they have both, like in parallel going, and they only use the virtual sampling result as like an internal visual communication tool to the clients and to the retailers, to the factories, but they're not using the result that we're building 3D to actually do the pattern. So it's like, why do you do both? Like you could have just used the digital pattern I created to replace the physical sampling thing. So yeah, that's one part I think should be pushed more. That's why I also try to teach more, and I appreciate like Stephy's effort to always like teach to bring the knowledge back to the community online. So more and more people are picking this up, hopefully online, self-taught, or in fashion schools. Like more fashion schools trying to teach the fashion students some digital tools so they can do this in the future for some fashion brands from in-house. So eventually more, how to say, less waste will be produced. And for the part that digital fashion is appreciated as digital art, I think if like digital art like this with a good, how to say, lighting composition, like I don't really need to wear them. I would collect them just as digital art. So like for me it's a little bit separate, like I don't try to have them or land in one direction, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
I wish for better webcams. That would like help a lot to be able to wear digital dress in Zoom meetings. I mean, many of us are working from home still. I mean, it just got established during the pandemic, and there are not that many apps that you can use to wear digital filters in Zoom meetings, and I hope that there will be more in the future, and that there will be way better webcams that can actually track a body and not only a face, so that you can sit there in your pajama and be fully dressed and wear nice earrings, and everything is virtual, but there are only a few apps now, and most of the clothes actually are, the face filters work great and earrings work great, but most of the garments are a bit glitchy at the moment, so we need better technology.
Why is that? Why is it glitchy?
Because body tracking always tries to track a whole body, and it just gets glitchy if you're in front of a webcam and it only sees like the upper half of your body. Then it tries to find legs and arms, and sometimes then the pants are around your neck, and it just doesn't work yet. So you have to like cut through the body tracking for Zoom, and like many of the frameworks of the technology doesn't allow for you to like change the essence of the body tracking, because they don't want to publish how it is done, so that you don't just change the framework. And it's a bit complicated to only track it upper half of the body, but I hope we will get there to all get digitally dressed for working from home.
I feel that I would do that.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Let's get a bit more into the technological side of it, because we talked about it earlier, but I found it so interesting, and you can explain it far better than me. Some of you said you created something and it looked amazing, or you created it, but implementing it into existing apps, it's not that easy.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So with digital fashion, I suppose, when you create something in Clo 3D or Marvelous Designer, it is very a dense mesh, so there's a lot of triangles and polygons to make it look as smooth and organic, because that's what fabric is. It's very smooth and organic type of material. And then you make it, you render it, it's beautiful, and then you try to put it into like an AR application, and then they say, oh, we can only support like 8 megabytes, and you're like, oh, my file is like 300. How am I going to squeeze this into this, you know? So there are a lot of technical difficulties when it comes to replicating it exactly as you dreamed it to be, and then it comes out a little bit like a second-hand thing that's been kind of bash-washed, and it just doesn't look as beautiful. It doesn't do it justice, right? So that's technical difficulties that we're facing now. I'm hoping that in the future it'll be a lot better. It is a common issue for when you bring things from specifically that is like quite dense in the mesh to like a gaming platform where they are quite low poly or low polygons, and so yeah. I don't know what the solution is. I'm just hoping that augmented reality or these gaming platforms will just have better technology in the future to help support these digital fashion pieces that we create.
Of course, if I have digital fashion in the game, I want it to be beautiful as you imagined it. So yes, please. Now that we talked a lot about the technical aspects and about sustainability, I thought something you said earlier is very interesting, the construction of identity in digital realities. So how do you think digital fashion is going to impact that for us? Because I think most of us now are at least partly into the digital world with avatars and with some sort of a digital identity. I mean, the pandemic made it happen to all of us, I think.
I think there are like as many risks as there are opportunities for our identities in the digital sphere, because of course you also have the risk of too perfect bodies that you can't accomplish in the real world, like the perfect avatar with the perfect body. That of course is a risk that I think we have to work on to not reproduce what we did like in the last 50 years with models on fashion magazines. Like, don't let us do that in the digital sphere where every avatar is just skinny and perfectly formed. I really don't want that. Really, I don't. And if we see that risk and not reproduce like Photoshop models on magazine covers, but have real bodies, or what would be even better is to have fantastical bodies, like really in the really meaning of the word, like fantasy bodies. That is what I am now still missing a bit in the digital sphere. That I want avatars where you don't know where the body ends and the garment starts. I want my avatar's skin to be velvet. I want like my avatar's hat to be a hat. I just don't want to see the borders of bodies and garments. I'm hoping that there will be more like fantasy creatures where we're not comparing our real bodies to like this perfect modelly avatar bodies, but I want to be a cloud, maybe wearing a dress. Like, that would be possible. I can be a cloud online, and that is just wearing a rainbow dress. And I hope that will be more important in the future. So to squeeze the opportunities and not get into the risk of perfection. Yeah.
I totally agree, and I also perfectly resonates with that what you said regarding aesthetics in a virtual reality. I think we all can agree that we are thriving a bit from the reality as we know is the reality, is a bit different from the reality like we are swimming in right now. So maybe just because it's not real, it is still real. So, and also the aesthetic thing is maybe changing a bit from the kind of perspective. What is nice? What is aesthetics in the digital fashion space? And I think all the creators on the field are changing the view of aesthetics, identity, what is real, what is unreal, and I love that kind of movement, and I think it will also expand more in the next 5 to 10 years. So this kind of realities are emerging into one, maybe or not. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I had to think of your mermaid design you showed earlier.
Yeah, I totally agree with the fantasy aspect. I would totally want to be a cloud now. I think I saw an installation, but that might not be digital fashion, but more like a generated art where you dance in front of a sensor and then you show it as a tree on the screen. I would like to be like a tree. I think it would also help you to reduce the human central way of thinking. So it also helps with the ecosystem in a way, preparing you from transforming to the non-animal or something.
Totally.
So a lot of chances there. And also what you said earlier, being inclusive. So catering with those new technologies to people who are not this perfect, well, supposedly perfect, this norm body that's still shown in a lot of fashion magazines, fashion websites, and all of that. So
especially for virtual try-on, if we still think about digital fashion as a helping tool for physical fashion, because when you think about the person who can't enter a shop, that's not the person who can walk around, who can jump, who can go up the stairs. It's the person maybe sitting in a wheelchair, maybe being sick and can't leave the home, and that's the person not being able to use body tracking, as body tracking is only tracking like standing persons, and I think there's a lot to do, and that's why it's so important that the tech teams, like at Apple and so on, must be as diverse as possible, so that all these things like body tracking that are like the framework for digital fashion, that they actually give the creators the opportunity to design clothes for everyone's body, because the framework is not there. I know many digital fashion designers who say, I would love to design in a different way. I would love to show on more diverse bodies, but there aren't as many diverse avatars out there. Clo3D has like a really standardized female body to design on, and I think that's where the big companies have to diversify their teams, so that there's always a person saying, hey, what about we have a different avatar in the next version,
Yeah, makes so much sense. And do you think people will, I mean, we already talked about being kind of in a bubble talking about this, so not that many people know of it now. And do you think it will be difficult for people to imagine themselves as an avatar with velvet skin or as a cloud? For me it makes sense as well. But do you think this approach will be something that people get really fast, because we're so used to creating our avatar close to our own looks, right? Because in most platforms it's the only possibility to do that.
I don't think it's an issue of the younger generation. Think about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're already on Roblox, Minecraft. You know, essentially that is what the metaverse is all about, having all these digital identities. I think the issue it comes with is people more so, for over like 20 years upwards, because they're not so used to like having their digital versions of themselves. It will become more mainstream, more people will get used to it, but I think, having people adopt another version of themselves online, if they're not already doing it, is going to be quite a challenge.
And now we talked a lot about the opportunities, the challenges. Do you see some dangers there as well?
Repeating fast fashion in the digital, I think that's a real danger. We are so used to ordering fast fashion, to buying fast fashion, that I think it's a real danger that we just make digital fashion fast fashion as well, because of course it's at this point it is still more sustainable than physical fashion, but if we are recreating factories, and we have factory workers who are sewing digitally for some pants a day, we shouldn't do that. That would be a danger I could see happen really, really fast if we don't face that.
Especially the digital tools are already faster than the physical way, so it's dangerous when like a fast fashion big brand like Shine wants to combine whatever they're doing now with digital fashion tools. So I heard that they had this plan to have training schools to train not kids but young people to learn whatever we're doing in Flow, and then just help generate patterns for them, and then they produce right away. So it will be even faster than now. I think that's kind of dangerous. That's why I would want to. I think that because I'm also part of Digital, this collective, and I think one thing we keep saying to the new members is very important. Like as digital labor workers, we have to value our time, because if you charge properly for what you're doing, I don't think they can afford having it that fast, because if all the students in that training school actually want to be properly paid, then I don't think they can speed up that easily. Because in physical fashion, you have someone, put the socks onto the machine, they're underpaid, but if that is done in digital, I think it would work more in a sense. So maybe that can help, but it has to, everyone has to be on board with the same amount of time, same amount of, rates, same level of rates, and so we should be cautious not to be exploited again as how physical fashion laborers were doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I also think that this is a bit our task too, to really explain, okay, what are the steps when creating digital fashion? How long does it take to really suit the pattern together onto the avatar? What does it take to render a whole scene out? How long does this render process?
Everybody feeling the pain.
Yes. How long does this actually take? And this is our task as digital creators, because we're dealing with this stuff day by day. So we need to really keep educating the people, and not just people like you sitting here being interested in the topic, but also big brands as the physical fashion industry, that they really recognize this is a value we can choose, but this is not a thing that we can waste and then throw away. Because digital fashion, yes, is faster when implementing it, when creating in it, when changing things, texture, and so on, but it's not like a fast fashion thing. It's really like a creative, a creative masterpiece, which is coming from a software and from people behind it. So we need to value this, and because we are already in the baby steps with digital fashion, we have these communities like Digital or other communities that is really important to really talk to each other, build up communities, and bring digital fashion to the next step, not just as a fast fashion product.
Really, really good point, and very, very good thing for you to say, to get me to asking our little community here about their questions for you, because community is important. That's what all of you said, and you are here and interested, and now we want to know what you are interested in, and had a lot of food for thought now. So, what are your questions to our amazing panel? You can, of course, just raise your hand to get a microphone and can ask them. And you see me already like the Christmas day. Talk, let's go. Yes.
Let me give you this. I think this one goes to, because I'm going to catch up what you just answered. I'm really interested in knowing how long does it take to start working when the idea fits, when you start working with the technical programs, and until you or a brand or whoever says, nice, that's the end of the process. Here's your money.
Good question and tough question. Maybe you can add something up if I miss something, but it totally depends on the final product. So when we have a project or when we have a client which is approaching us and telling us, okay, let's do a virtual try-on product, then yeah, you need to take in consideration that everything that we do in the software is not really faster, but we're doing it in a different way. So I'm also, as a physical fashion designer, sitting in my office and then thinking about, okay, how can we create this design? I do a mood board, maybe, maybe not. Maybe I got inspired from different things. Maybe the client does this for me, but okay, we have to agree on how does this look in the digital world. And then I do the same steps as a physical fashion designer. So yeah, the whole process from sewing it all together, draping it onto the avatar, simulating it in a way, then maybe animating it if the client wants to have it in animation. Depends on how long the animation is. Could be 2 seconds, could be, I don't know, 1 hour. Yeah, it takes a bit. I cannot answer this question properly. Maybe you can have like, yeah, numbers for it, but it depends.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you're working in digital fashion, essentially it's 3D. So, you know, as Kim said, you do the idea phase. You know, that takes a few days, maybe an hour if you're quick. So, idea phase, you have to give that to client, come back with it. Then you actually do the creation, of course, making the actual garment. And then if they want any animation, you've got to think about that on top. Then you've got to think about the texturing. Then you've got to think about the lighting and then the whole composition. So I would say roughly, if you want it good quality, it would take 3 weeks, you know. That's including rendering time as well. So of course, intricate pieces or having like a whole collection, multiple pieces will take longer. And yeah, I would say about roughly that time. So that whole thing we were talking about, fast fashion, about making patterns out like boom, like quick, it's something we don't want to do because essentially 3D, if you guys have ever tried learning 3D, it's not that easy to just like understand all the 3D principles. So it's definitely a skill that you have to take time, and we don't want to devalue that time that it takes to learn 3D.
I tried actually. I tried to 3D design and I gave up after I think 2 months. It was too hard. I just can't grasp that. No, it's like, I will never understand that. I don't understand pattern. I don't understand how to sew pattern in 3D. It's amazing how you do that. I have no idea actually, really.
That's why we're collaborating.
Yeah.
I was trying for my first time teaching for the past semester to fashion students to make them pick up the tool. So I assume they already know how to do patterns in reality, but it's still hard for them to. As one thing I didn't realize is the requirement for device that you're using, because it really depends on your laptop. Like if you're on like a old MacBook without mouse, then you will suffer a lot more from than someone who's on a legit, gaming PC. So that alone already will cost some money and time, some investment. And if you're on the right device, like many 3D artists I know started with laptop and eventually have to build like a custom PC, like with those neons and like customized parts. Like that is also that's the.
It's hard to buy into it, right? I tried as well, and my laptop just won't. It just won't. But we talked about technology getting better and better, right? And in the near future, I think people will have more opportunities without having this steep sum of buying and gaming PC. So, next question.
So first question is why you use 3D close 3D and no vStitcher? Do you know? Yeah, no?
Yes, I know.
Similar software?
I know a bit about vStitcher, but for me, Close 3D was more like, so I tried Marvelous Designer, and it's very similar to Close 3D. And for my point of view, it was like this software for me was like easy to do. I could pick my avatar. It's like an easy usage. So I don't know much about vStitcher. I don't know about you, but it's similar. Okay.
Maybe the softwares, because I'm thinking about starting also.
Okay.
But buying Stitcher because I know vStitcher, or buying 3D close 3D. So I'm thinking about which one is the best.
I think there are more videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
For close 3D? Yeah. Okay.
Probably
So-
there are more tutorials on
Yeah.
YouTube. And also I think this kind of, there is Browseware, another software which you can also use, but this is really just the basic simulation step. So in all of the provided software, you have like an avatar, you have this tool to make the patterns and then drag it onto the avatar. I think it's totally, yeah, you can choose whatever you want to use.
The video answer is also the good one, so help is always the best to learn something new.
You can follow Stephy on Twitch.
I just made a video of your name. Yeah, and I just want to pick up a thought of you because of, so I came from the industry and I just recognize it's going to be something extra for designers. It's not going to be something that is new, a new system we work through. It's an extra time thing. So we're not using it like we should to do the sustainability effort for the world. We use it in industry, so for the big companies at the moment, and I think this is a big problem, as an extra, and not for the reason it is made for. So my question is how we get the big companies to change the system, like completely. Well, hard question, I know, but I'm thinking a lot of it, because I think we are running in a whole wrong direction, and so not with this fashion thing here, but I think with our world right now. So how we are going to überzeugen, convince big companies that's a good idea to change systems and not to put extra on the designers.
I think many things start as extras. Many things start as like prestige projects to show off, or maybe to try out. Many companies first have to try selling maybe some digital sneakers on top of their physical sneakers, because they can't change like the whole production system from one day to another, just to learn that it doesn't sell. So I think that it's an extra or a marketing gag for some companies at the moment. I think that's just the beginning. It's like a trial and error era we are in. Many people are getting into the scene. Many big companies are having little marketing projects on digital fashion. And I think from each project, as small as it is or as non-sustainable as it is, every company learns something from it. And I think it's the right direction. It just really takes some time, I think. but maybe you have a better industry perspective than I do.
Yeah, I might also still go back to the basic step of the fashion industry, and of course also because I'm a designer. But from our experience is that if you are talking to bigger physical fashion brands and they come to us and say, okay, we want to go digital, but we don't know how, then the first step is to implement it into the design step. And many of the clients that we had in the past were really interested in going digital, but they didn't know how to take it as a value and really putting it into their design steps. So I think it will take a bit more explaining into, firstly, how to implement digital fashion in the physical fashion industry before changing the whole system. So we need like creators and designers like us, and really the conversation, where does it make sense to maybe digitize a sample and then going to the buyers and say, okay, we don't have the physical sample today, but we have the digital one. And then also the buyers from the collections will say, oh, that makes sense, and can we change the textures really quick? And then they will be like, oh, this is much faster than we had like 6 years ago. And maybe this continues the conversation around how to really change like the big brands, big companies, and also the destroyed fashion industry. It will take a few years to really change something. But I think conversations like this, and also mixed panels with people from the fashion industry and people from the digital world, are really, really important to start this conversation. And this is the first step that we all must take to change at least a bit.
I think there's also another thing with the education factor, that even if a big company wanted to maybe switch, but they can't find people to hire to do it. So that's where the education factor comes in, where you've got companies like the Institute of Digital Fashion, the Fabricant. They also do a workshop tomorrow. Here. So if you guys want to come back and actually learn a bit how to do it, then yes, workshops like that. So I think right now there is a gap in the market. Either there's fashion students who don't know how to do 3D people or students don't know how to do fashion. So we just need to bridge that gap. So I think having more universities maybe also taking up these fashion schools, take up digital fashion would be great as well, because I know a lot of them are still quite traditional. I do think there is one in London, in Ravensbourne. They actually made a digital fashion course last year. So it's happening, but with all things, it takes time.
Unfortunately, universities are not known to be fast implementing tech, I think.
I have the question, what is the best body track app right now outside for tracking your own body? Do you have any experience?
The app that works best is Snapchat. Actually, Snapchat has the best usage of the body tracking technology that is. Okay, I have to start first. So, body tracking is a framework that is already included in the technology inside the phone. So, iOS has a specific kind of body tracking. Android has a specific kind of body tracking, but and you can't change that. You can't go inside the iOS and tell it to please measure the depth or the width of a person, but the best technology on top of that body tracking framework is definitely Snapchat, and with so much room to the second place that it's just ridiculous. So Snapchat is the best, definitely, and it's the only platform where you can really also as a digital fashion designer, that is, it's the only platform that is known to everyone. Of course, there are Dress X, or there's 010. There are like specific digital fashion apps, but of course they are mostly known in the scene, and so it's not like you can get your designs out there for everyone to wear. And if you really want to have nice body tracking, you have to ask someone for your own app if you're a brand and want to have a virtual try-on with like really nice body tracking. You have to have your own app or use Snapchat. Yeah.
Thank you. And I have another question about or concerning these dangerous things, or if you have something in mind what could be bad for digital fashion. You discussed with our students what digital fashion can be also like losing the feeling of a garment on your body, and maybe it's also something what's not so nice. So this where, or if there's any risk, what it makes with yourself, and maybe if you are like perfectly dressed up for your Zoom meeting, but you doesn't feel it because it's just digital. Do you see there any dangers, or what's your experience with digital fashion?
Interesting question, because me starting as a digital fashion designer, I am actually less experienced with fabric measurements, because I see fabric as, you know, how stretchy this way, how stretchy this way. It's like this defined by parameters in clothes. So when fashion people tell me like the name of the specific organza or something, like I have no idea. So I think I am lack of that. That's why, like Stephy said, education is so important. So if fashion courses actually have digital fashion like as a branch, then there will potentially be more people that is knowledgeable in both. And I think that's actually what I think makes digital fashion fun as well, because you can wear ice, you can wear fire, so you're thinking out of the, you know, the box of the traditional materials. I think digital material is, it has its own sensations. Like it's different, but I agree that working with digital, you have less idea of how the fabric feels. So it's important that, I think Chloe is in official collaboration with a Korean fabric factory, that they digitize all their physical fabric and bridge that into clothes, so you can like pick this fabric to see how it would affect the draping, and if it works for you, then you order that, then they will actually ship the same, the same physical material with the same parameters to make that dress in real life. So there are also like ways to bridge the two, so to make it work.
And what I also think is important is there's a theory in art theory about the touch sense of the eye. Like you can touch when seeing something. Your vision is not only visual, but you also can grasp how it might feel. So there is something tactile and haptic about looking at something. We, especially if we have memories about a specific fabric, you can evoke the memory of velvet by looking at digital velvet, and you can actually almost feel it when you wear it. So that's really interesting. If you're changing through many garments, they feel different. Digital garments compared to each other do not feel the same. Like a digital water ice dress definitely feels different than a fluffy, warm coat you're wearing digitally. They do feel different, though you are not feeling anything on your skin. You still get like some memorized tactile feeling of it. Yeah.
We have more questions. Yes.
Thank you. I would like to know, what do you think, how does digital fashion change people's consideration of value? So how how does the value of fashion change because of digital fashion?
I think that's also the exact thing that I also mentioned without changing the realities and also changing a bit the aesthetic perspective that we have in mind from what a certain product, when it does a certain product look good, look nice and stuff. I think this also, you can also refer this to value because if we are creating a digital product, then maybe it's not the value that we are used to be, but it could bring another value, especially when you try out certain filters, like you move around and then you have this kind of whole experience, this new experience, which was never here before. You never experienced fashion in kind of like the way in virtual reality, and you can create like a new value for a digital fashion product. This is all I can say. Maybe you wanted to add something to the question. Does this answer your question? I don't know if this is specific enough.
Yes, in that sense. My claim is that digital fashion will create value for individuality, right? You can add add-ons, you can maybe change the clothes that you see online and add certain details. Do you think that the fact that digital fashion will increase the possibilities to make individual fashion will change the fashion industry?
Yeah, of course. This goes back to the experience that I talked about. If you have these possibilities to change the color, to change maybe also the physics, switching from waters to fire, yeah, you totally change your perspective also to a traditional fashion product. And yeah. Sure.
I think what's also interesting, you got me thinking about, like, you know, digital fashion is actually, once you create it, it's done. It's never gonna like wear and tear. So that got me thinking, like, especially if it was like something tradable as an NFT or something like that, how's that value keep its value, you know, compared to maybe a jacket that, you know, within time, it might disintegrate, might fall apart. So, yeah, no, it's a very interesting question. With digital stuff, they are always going to be there forever unless you decide to burn it, delete it digitally.
And in NFT, you can also buy like secondhand, so you know who was the owner of the piece, and you got this like secondhand clothing. And one thing I noticed different in digital fashion is that in physical fashion, for example, someone coming to you want to buy 50 instead of 1, then you give them a discount, right? But in digital fashion, if someone wants 50 of my clothes instead of 1, I still have to times 50. Like, it doesn't reduce my effort to make them. So, so I guess we don't have this relation between amount and price like in physical fashion. So that's why I think brands in digital space, they are trying to limit the limit the amount to emphasis on the rareness. Yeah, so something I like launched for only 1, and if you got that one, like there's no second one. It's not like we can't produce the second one, but it's like kind of a man-made limitation to keep a digital item value.
Thank you.
Are there more questions? More burning questions? Or are you all a bit exhausted and have enough to think about? I think so. Okay, so let's proceed to the relaxed part of the evening where we can all enjoy a drink together and talk about what we heard so far. And thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thanks for educating us. Thank you to Francis, of course, for hosting Zentrum. Thank you, Nino. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for organizing all of it and for giving us the opportunity to learn so much tonight, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you so much.